140 shillings in September of last year. Now it is 179.67 cents. Kerosene was retailing at 127.94 cents. It's now 169 shillings 48 cents. If you are to focus on something else about the cost of living, this is what the government has done. It scrapped the subsidies, the fuel subsidies that were at that time, and now there's something that has been introduced. The president says it is not a subsidy. It is a price stabilization which has been introduced. It is between 3 shillings 59 cents and 7 shillings 33 cents. Of course, 7 shillings being for petrol, it should have been retailing at about 202 shillings without that price stabilization. But if you have to look at the foods that Kenyans consume, bread was retailing at, no, this is not the accurate figure. It was the bar of soap of 800. This should actually be sugar. Sugar was supposed to be 316 shillings last year. It is now between 420 shillings and 500 shillings. Some shops will find it at a higher price. If you are to talk about maize flour, it was retailing at 200 shillings plus. It is now between 170 shillings and 200 shillings, depending on the shop that you buy. But this is the packet unga. If you are to talk about something like cooking oil, at that time it was 450 shillings per litre of cooking oil. It is now 340 shillings. Has been a decline, but along the way, there's a time that it had spiked, but now it's settling down and getting back to that point. For something like, this should be what? Bread. It was retailing at 55 shillings. At that time, it is now retailing at 64 shillings. And of course, different prices for different commodities. But I want us now to subject this to the Cabinet Secretaries who are here in studio. And just to introduce that Nakumicha Wafula, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, has now joined us. Good evening. And we'll be talking to you. But let's begin with you, Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, as far as the cost of living is concerned, because this was one of the biggest promises that was made by the campaign of William Ruto before he became president. In fact, the promise was that that would be one of the issues to be focused on. There has been a bit of change, but not necessarily where people would want to see it, especially if you talk about the cost of fuel and cost of food and other commodities. What would be your response in terms of the action, and what should Kenyans wait to see happening in the coming months?
I like this question, Sam, but I wish your figures are factual. And you know, you pride yourself that your TV is the most watched in the country. So don't forget there's somebody who is watching you from a supermarket. So be careful.
What is the figure that you have a question about?
Let's take cooking oil, for example.
Right.
It's much lower than what you project there, and Kenyans know that. Yes, you've said correctly that the price has come down, but it's not even to the level you have said. It is by 50% since we came to government. So
our figure is an estimate of 340.
No, it's much lower than that.
What is your figure?
It's much lower than that. It's in the region of 230, 240 shillings.
230 shillings a litre of?
Yeah, a litre of edible oil. And I'm sure there are some Kenyans who are watching you from a supermarket. So, everyone can be entitled to their own opinion, but not everyone can be entitled to their own facts. Facts are universal. I want us to also look at the issue of sugar. Ask you, maybe before this program is over, make some few calls. I suggest you call some supermarkets here in Nairobi, up country, in the shops.
So at the moment, we're giving a range of between 420 shillings to 500 shillings plus for a 2-kilogram pack of sugar.
2-kilogram pack.
What is the price according to you?
Well, I'm just saying, let us reconfirm that. I know for sure that edible oil is much, much lower than that. But anyway, I digress. I'm just asking you, because I've seen you inciting Kenyans.
No.
I've seen you inciting Kenyans by the panel.
If indeed you question the figures,
I've seen, let me just put it this way.
It is good for you to give us
the problem with you, and that is why you are Azimio roast. That's why you are Azimio roast.
That is what you're talking about here.
Sam, let's put it this way. I laugh. You never learn. You never learn. The same way you are falsifying facts last year with your Azimio is the same way you are falsifying it now. The same way you had skewed panels during that time is the same way you have skewed panel now. The same way you are using fake opinion polls that time that tell you that Azimio was winning is what I've seen in that panel now. Anyway, let's get back to the facts. Let me start with fuel. Now, on the issue of fuel, we have something called PDL, Petroleum Development Levy. The purpose of this PDL is what we call making hay when the sun shines. That let me accumulate some money as a buffer so that when the global dynamics are not in my favor, then I can be able to use that to cushion the consumer. That money was deducted from the consumer. Where did you want it to go? The right thing is, after you accumulate it, you tell them, Mr. Consumer, Mr. Motorist, Mr. Passenger, I have now accumulated so much money because you are the one who gave me this money. It is only right and fair that I give this money back to you. You know, so then you guys go all over saying it's a subsidy. It is not a subsidy. This money, we saved it from every liter of petrol to go to some kitty as a safeguard, so that now, when the situation is not very favorable, we don't have our own crude oil, we don't produce oil, then that goes back there. Number two, because of the situation in the U.S., whereby inflation in the U.S. is at the highest. You know, you look at the interest rate, 5% interest rate in the U.S. market is never heard of. The whole world is suffering because of the actions of the U.S. You know what they did during COVID? They printed money. And you know what we are doing? We are all paying for that. You've had everyone. You've had President Ruto. You've had Antonio Gutierrez, who is not a member of Kenya Kwanza, talk about this unfair, practice by the U.S. and by the, global north, that we in the south are suffering like that. So is this Antonio Gutierrez at one? So is this all those people who are talking about all this?
Did you know this during the campaigns?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you know this about during the campaigns, about what the U.S. had done?
No, they had not done it that particular time. Since this year only, my friend. Just go to the U.S. and look at the interest rate and what has happened in the interest rate. We've been talking about, I don't know where you guys have been, we've been talking about the unfair financial system in the world. Antonio Guterres was here. Japanese Prime Minister was here. We've talked about it all the time and saying, look, it is not fair to expect the global south to continue paying for the unfair practices of the north. And all these things that you mentioned, the whole thing of a fair financial system in the world is coming here, as it is in Uganda, as it is in all these countries. But you know what? What worries me is that when I talk to the actual people, and I think Dean Nyoro has mentioned this, when I talked to the people who voted for us, overwhelmingly, how come they get this more than you guys who claim to be educated? How come these farmers, I was in Transo here last week, how come these farmers get it? How come they are telling me they are taking, selfies in their maize plantations? They are actual people who voted for us. But because of snake oil salesmen in Royal Media and in all these other places, you continue getting, I have never seen, I've never seen people who are more consistent than Royal Media. You are consistent at getting it wrong.
Just hold on. We're just starting the conversation, and it would be important that we focus on facts. I have told you that the price of unga was 200 shillings plus September 2022. Today, it is a range of between 170 shillings to 200 shillings. Is that an Azimio figure, or is the reality in the market? But also, what do you explain to Kenyans? No, even if there's a bumper harvest, the price of a packet of food has not come down.
I think some, because you're talking about facts, and facts are stubborn, you say it was 200 and
shillings plus, yes.
200 plus, it was 220.
Yes.
Towards 250. Add the subsidy, because that was after subsidy.
No, that was after the subsidy had expired.
No, that was after the consumer subsidy.
The subsidy had expired in August.
No, let's have a subsidy. Let us put a subsidy of like 20 shillings there. So the actual price, the real price, because it was still subsidy was coming from the pockets of Kenyans, was somewhere in the region of 270 shillings, down to 170. Before the harvest, we have not put consumer
Let us talk about the facts. The subsidy had expired in August. I'm talking about the price 13th of September 2022.
Granted, can you imagine it has fallen without the subsidy? Granted, it has fallen when we were not harvested. Granted, it has fallen when there has been, the worst drought in the country. It has fallen. Don't you think we deserve a medal?
Allow me to chime in.
Mheshimiwa, ningependa sana uchangie kwa sababu najua swala hili liko karibu sana na moyo wako. Manake tunasikiza wengine wakizungumzia swala la uzalishaji chakula. Unatokea sehemu ya Trans Nzoia ambapo ni sehemu moja ya uzalishaji wa chakula. Unapomsikia Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro na wengine wanapozungumzia magunia milioni 60 ambayo yanatarajiwa kuvunwa iwe ni ya mahindi. Tupe taswira kamili ya Trans Nzoia, kwa sababu kuna wengine wanahisi kwamba baada ya kupata mbolea ya bei nafuu kuna watu waliongeza ekari za kupanda. Lakini hali si kama hivyo ilivyo Trans Nzoia. Trans Nzoia watu wamekuwa wakipanda kadri ya uwezo wao jinsi ilivyo. Tupe hali halisi.
Kwanza nichangie hapo kwa bei ya unga.
Naam.
Hii bei ya unga ambayo tunaongea juu yake ni ile unga ambayo iko kwenye packet, iko kwenye supermarket, iko kwenye miji.
No.
It is in the cities and in towns. No. If we look at the population of Kenyans who access packeted unga, I am confident to say it's a very small fraction compared to majority of the population that is in the up country. In the at the up country, they siaga their unga, you know, gorogoro. I come from Trans Nzoia. Over the weekend, I was at home. A gorogoro of maize right now is retailing between 70 and 90 shillings. That 70 and 90 shillings gorogoro of maize, if you take it to the portion mill, you'll spend another 10 shillings to make it into unga. That means at the end of the day, you have 2 kilos of unga at 100 shillings. So that is what it is right now for the larger people at Mashinani. I am a farmer. I have farmed. And I can tell you for sure, this year, my harvest is not what I got last year. It is a bumper harvest. And I want to confirm, from majority of the people who are farming in Trans Nzoia, we have a bumper harvest this year. In fact...
Unaweza kusema hiyo kwa sababu ya kuwa mbolea imeshuka ama kwa sababu gani inakuwa bumper?
Mbolea imeshuka, na pia Mungu ni mwema, tulikuwa na mvua nzuri. Hizo vitu mbili zimefanya tukakuwa na harvest ya kutosha. Yeah.
Asante. Asante.
Okay. Pia nichangie kidogo vile mwenzangu amesema hapa. Mpangilio wa serikali wa mbolea na kuhahamisha wakulima kwamba kuna hii bei rahisi ya mbolea iliwafanya wengi ambao pia walikuwa hawajihusishi na ukulima kujihusisha. Sababu wengi waliacha ukulima kwa sababu ya bei ya mbolea na bei ya mambo mengine ambayo yanachangia katika ukulima. Kwa hivyo pia mpangilio wa serikali ulikuwa sabamba, ulikuwa umepangika, na pia Mwenyezi Mungu akaweza kutupa mvua, na ndio sasa tuko.
Je, ina maana kwamba tutaona kwamba kutakuwa na mavuno ama kulikuwa na upandaji katika sehemu ambazo kawaida huwa hawapandi mahindi?
Ya, kuna sehemu ambako watu walikuwa hawapandi kwa sababu ya gharama ya bidhaa ambazo zinahusika na ukulima. Lakini na hasa kabisa bei ya mbolea iliwafanya wengi ambao wana ardhi lakini hawakuweza kutumia ardhi hiyo viwavyo kwa sababu hawakuwa na uwezo wa kuweza kununua bei ya mbolea wakati huo 7,000, na sasa wakati iliposhuka 3,500 wengi wakajihusisha na ukulima.
All right, of course we'll wait to see the ultimate harvest and weigh against what has been done before. But Waziri Chelugui, talk to me about, because Waziri Nahumicha here says that the portion or proportion of Kenyans that buy unga at supermarkets are very minimal. But they are Kenyans, isn't it?
Yes, right. True.
If you look at the cost of production of maize flour, it is not just about the raw material. There has to be the input costs. There has to be the production cost in terms of the cost of energy. It has gone up. If you look at the field that we're talking about, transportation has gone up. So really, this question has not been answered by the government. And if it has been answered, not as far as it had been promised.
Thank you, Sam. When you talk of cost of living, you look at what do Kenyans require to sustain their livelihood. One of the biggest factor in this cost of living is food, cost of food. And food, you talk of what is our staple food, as she says, is maize, ugali. Majority of our homes are taking ugali. Some of them taking mudokoi, some of them taking githeri. All these are food products from maize. Now, government at the onset identified this as a key challenge facing many Kenyans, facing this government. And therefore, the intervention was not on subsidizing consumption, but subsidizing production. So that effort, what was done through KNTC, that was done by National Cereals and Produce Board, registration of farmers. I participated actively through the cooperative movement to register farmers. Today we have 5 million farmers who are engaged in production of maize and other products.
Right.
So as we speak today, I believe if you look at the statistics, by the way, even though many Kenyans are making a lot of I've had them on TV making noise about the cost of living. But when you look at the statistics, Kenya is 46.6% lower than UK in terms of cost of living, and 54% lower in cost of living than the US compared to US. So what do we need to do? As a government, we need to invest in production. The more we increase supply, the lesser the economies of scale in production if we have many farmers who are supported. My ministry will be working with the Ministry of Agriculture in ensuring that extension services, aggregation of farmers through cooperatives so that we increase production. And hence, when the supply is high and demand is lower, the cost definitely, the market forces will fix a better price. And that is how we're going to reduce the cost of living.
Naam, asante sana Mheshimiwa Chelugui. Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria, ni kurejeshe kwenye lile swala la bei ya mafuta. Na kuna Wakenya ambao wanakutazama kwa sasa hivi ambao kuna makisio kutoka kwa wadadisi na hata shirika la EPRA kwamba huenda bei ya mafuta kufikia kesho itakuwa inabadilika. Ina maana kwamba huenda ikapanda juu zaidi. Kwa wale wanaokutazama, haswa kutokana na msemo uliotoka kwa Rais William Ruto mwenyewe na naibu wake wakati wa maagano mapya na serikali ya Saudi Arabia na milki ya Kiarabu kwamba sasa tunanunua mafuta kwa kutumia sarafu ya Kenya ambayo ni Kenyan currency. Akasema mwenyewe na kutangaza kwamba kwa muda fulani bei ya mafuta itakuwa inapungua, lakini sivyo. Na kuna wale wanaokutazama kwa sasa hivi, una yapi mengine ya kuwapa kutoka kwa serikali ambayo itawatia moyo kwamba bei itashuka hivi karibuni au la?
Kwanza kabla niingilie mafuta ya petroli, naamini ya kwamba unaongea mambo ya mafuta ya petroli.
Naam.
Kwanza nimepata risala mbili, moja ni kutoka jamaa kwa Ruto.
Naam.
Amesema kama mnaweza kupika pale Ruto.
Naam.
Mafuta ya kupikia akasema ni 210.
Naam.
Amenitumia risala.
Hiyo ni kwa lita
moja.
Naam.
Kuna jamaa anaitwa Martin Kinyita, ako sehemu pale kwangu nyumbani Katundu. Na amesema amenunua unga leo huko shilingi 150. So tuamini ya kwamba hao ni Wakenya pia, na pia sababu wanatazama hii runinga. Kwa hivyo kuna wale walisikiza rais wakati huo, lakini kuna wale ambao wanasikiza Citizen leo. Na unajua lazima tuanze leo kabla kurudi hapo nyuma. Niseme hivi mambo ya mafuta. Ile mpango tuko nao wa kununua mafuta kwa shilingi, sio kwa US dollar. Sana sana wacha mambo ya bei, kwa sababu bei inaweza kupandishwa na sababu tofauti. Kuna bei zinaweza kupanda kwa sababu ya crude oil ile ya dunia vile inaenda. Na tumetazama crude oil vile inaenda. Bado hatujaanza kuwa na mafuta yetu. Lakini kwa kila mwezi ukiangalia ile US dollars, dola ya Kimarekani ambao sisi tunaweka tukikojea mambo ya kuwe bora zaidi. Nikuambia ya kwamba Nimrod, na mimi ni mtu wa uchumi, nimesomea mambo ya uchumi. Kama sio hili jambo, hata hiyo shilingi tunasema imedhoofika. Kama sio hilo jambo, ingekuwa imedhoofika zaidi. Kwa hivyo kuna upande wa bei upande moja, lakini pia kuna ule upande wa sisi kutotumia dola yetu kila siku. Nilikwambia Nimrod,
kuna mmoja ambaye aliwasikiza katika kampeni yenu mkieleza bayana kila katika safari ya kampeni kwamba tutakapoingia tunajua tatizo liko wapi, tutashukisha bei ya mafuta. Leo hii hiyo suluhu iko au haiko?
Iko, kwa sababu kama hatukifanya hiyo mikakati, my friend, wacha nikuambie ukweli. Kama wale jamaa Azimio wangeingia na wafuate sera za ile serikali nyingine, hii serikali ingekuwa imeporomoka kwa mwezi wa 4. Usikie hiyo. Ni miujiza vile tumeshika uchumi ambao ilikuwa taabani kabisa, iko katika ICU. Sasa hii unaweza kusema haijashuka, lakini nikwambie bayana kama wangefuata sera za serikali ile nyingine, kwa wakati huu uchumi ungekuwa umeporomoka kabisa. Tukiona ya kwamba uchumi yetu umejizatiti, licha ya kwamba duniani mzima bei ya crude oil imeenda juu, licha ya kwamba vita ya Ukraine tulikuwa tunakadiria kwa wakati utakuwa imeisha, haijaisha, licha ya kwamba uchumi wa Kimarekani unaendelea kudhoofisha nchi mingi mpaka China, mpaka Europe, bado wako na hii shida ya uchumi ya Amerika, na ile sera inachukuliwa na serikali ya Kimarekani. Tuseme ni miujiza na tushukuru Mungu, lakini ya maana ya kwamba Ile jambo inanifurahisha zaidi. Inapea roho yangu furaha. Wale watu walituchagua wanajua ulikuwa liko kuliko.
Waziri, that's fine for you to say that, but I remember the presidential debate indicating that there were 15 taxes and levies, and some of them needed to be scrapped. We have come to the Finance Act, and you know what happened. So, in fact, the VAT was raised from 8% to 16%. Yes, there are 2 levies that were reduced, but it's...
Not 2, 23.
There were 2 levies.
23 taxes.
The ones that...
23 taxes were reduced.
Waziri, I know what I'm
But I know
Waziri,
in royal media eyes, the 3 was not visible. It was
Waziri,
23, not 2.
Just listen to the question, it'll give you answer. There are levies and taxes on fuel. 2 were reduced. Import declaration levy. And another one, the VAT was increased by 100% from 8% to 16%. That was not the promise. How do you account for that?
Because wakati huo hawakuwa wamefungua, they had not opened the safes at Treasury. And when we went there and we looked at what was there, it was horrible. It was actually horrifying. By the time it was 8%, they had not opened the Treasury, which they rooted in the last 2 weeks of power. Do you know how much rooting happened in 2 weeks? And we have got record, and we've said publicly. Sorry, go and ask those who rooted. Go and ask Uhuru Kenyatta and his people. How much did you root in 2 weeks?
Directly related.
You know, it was like a scorched earth policy. How do you expect us to, on one hand, you've rooted the Treasury. On the other hand, you've left us with debts. Unbelievable debts. And they know what they were saying because they knew what they had done. They had said, give these people until December. This government will collapse. Because they know what they had done. So we thank God. And we thank our Kenyans for being patient with us. That despite the fact that we found a poison pill, that because they had set up conditions that could have led to the collapse of this economy, we were able with our Kenyans, because at the end of the day, people who we went to explain to them, Kenyans, understand, this is a situation, this is how we found them to be. By the way, you know, Kenyans are amazing people because they have been very patient with us, and they know because we have not made errors on fundamentals. You know, there is errors on the contemporary facts, and there are errors on fundamentals. We scrapped subsidies on at the consumer level. We did subsidies on productions, on fertilizer. We have done stabilization of all the macroeconomic, indicators. We are saying that maybe today is not as good as we would have wanted it to be. But because we didn't mess up with the fundamentals, as we build the curve, and as the global economy improves, I know Kenyans know that we've got a better tomorrow.
Asante Mheshimiwa. Mheshimiwa, nakumicha na kurudisha pale pale kwenye gharama ya maisha na hususan upanzi wa mahindi. Mnapozungumzia bumper harvest, Mheshimiwa amezungumzia lakini hakuliweka bayana swala la gharama ya mafuta. Kufikia kesho EPRA huenda ikatangaza bei tofauti ya mafuta. Na ikiwa itakuwa juu, basi huoni kwamba hata kukiwa na bumper harvest tutarudi pale pale katika hali ya uchochole? Kwa sababu gani? Kila kitu kinapanda kulingana na gharama ya mafuta. Ina maana kwa wale wanaonunua mahindi kuyasafirisha mahali fulani, yale mafuta ya lori yatapanda. Kwa wale wasagaji ambao wanatumia dizeli, mitambo ya kusaga, watapandisha bei zaidi ya unga. Hilo litakuwa vipi kwa serikali ya Kenya Kwanza?
Asante. Kwanza, vile mwenzangu amesema, kuna factors mingi ambazo zina influence bei ya mafuta. Na vile amesema ya kwamba tulikuwa tumepromise ya kwamba tutakuja kuangalia hizo bei, lakini hizi factors, external factors, they have continued to persist. One of them is the Ukraine and Russia war. It has continued to persist. The economy of the US has continued to persist. So regardless of what else we do, and these are things that are controlling the cost of fuel. So there's so much that we can do to change that. But if you find a leaking bucket, you first have to fix the holes before then you start putting some new water into that leaking bucket. So this economy, we found it leaking. So we have spent quite some time to seal the holes of leakage. That after we are done with sealing the holes of leakage, then we can start moving forward and putting in clean water. In terms of harvest, one thing that I know that we are doing, and I think we are expecting the next few days, my colleagues will correct me, is that we are getting seed dryers, so that and improve on storage of the harvest. What normally happens, and the people you're talking about with the trucks, are the people who are middlemen, who want to go brokers, who want to go and influence the price of the harvest at this moment. But the government has made plans. We are getting seed dryers. We are also getting storage facilities,
right,
so that people can aggregate their harvest and keep it up to that time that then it can be used.
Okay. Well, Waziri, thank you for that. Of course, we are bringing you the figures as we know them from our research. CS Kuria has his figures from Ruto and others. Let's go to Eldoret to listen to John Wanyama to give us the real figures live from Eldoret in a supermarket. Wanyama.
Thank you very much. We are at Naivas supermarket, Sam, and clearly, as we have seen here, the prices of different types of cooking oil here, like this one, Ufuta, they are selling at Naivas at 347. If you come here, this is Salit oil, cooking oil. This is going at 325 shillings, and here Golden Fry, it's going at 355 shillings. Just to sample out quickly, we have here Top Fry, which is going at 307. Clearly an indicator that really the cooking oil has gone up in their prices since maybe in the few years or few months ago. Those whom we have talked to, they are saying it has gone up to maybe 3 times of what they used to buy. That is what we have found here at Naivas supermarket. Sam.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, John Wanyama. I see Waziri Nakhumicha, you're perturbed by the figure saying on this.
You have it on your board.
That is 450, September 2022.
It was 450.
Yes.
Right now, the figures that he's reading, the list that he has talked about is 307.
And that's 5 liters.
No, Waziri, he has given a range. There are different brands. Some are 347, others are 325.
Yes.
We've given there an estimate
per liter or per
of
5 liters?
per liter, 1 liter.
Yes.
September 2022, a liter of 340 shillings. Totally.
We will be patient with you. Just go now to Ruto.
That's not
Go to Ruto.
Yes.
Set a crew there. We are here for 2 hours. What's the hurry for? So you're here for 2 hours. So when the Ruto.
Okay.
Why should we go to Ruiru? There is a
Sam, I want to address an issue on the fact that influence the crude oil prices. I think as Kenyans, we agonize so much on how to fix these prices. One, we are not producers of oil and petroleum. We import this commodity. And just like any other commodity, faces many factors. And there is import, there are insurances, there are logistical costs that determine the cost of oil. One of the leading and very important fundamental factor in determining the prices is actually the current supply and also the output in the recent past. The second one is OPEC. That is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They always supply this commodity through quotas. So any time that we import this oil, this has to come into play. Okay. Then we also have the future supply and reserves, which is also a consideration in determination of price and the demand from major countries. Remember, our consumption is relative to other major countries. And finally, the political events and crisis. As we speak today, we have an issue, a crisis in Europe, Russia and Ukraine. All these have contributed. They have affected the routes, the shipping routes of oil across the world. The price of wheat, we import our chapati unga, largely comes from Ukraine and Russia. So all these have contributed. So as we struggle to fix this problem as a country, as a people, as an administration, let us remember we operate in a global village and we are all subject to all these factors. So it is good to beat ourselves, but also understand and appreciate where the environment that we operate in.
I have a question. I have got Mercy Ruseno, my friend from Kakamega. Would you allow me to call her so that she tells us about the edible oil in Kakamega?
No, what you can do, you can get
it's okay, because you know Mercy Ruseno.
Waziri, please, you can get the information.
Is a leader in Kakamega.
Waziri, please.
If you allow me just to set it, because I don't have my studio person.
We won't do that on set.
No, we can. I am going to do it.
Waziri,
because you know Mercy is there in Kakamega. She's telling me she cannot allow you to lie. Or that guy.
Waziri, I do not doubt you.
That guy is putting is for 2 liters.
Waziri, please, let us just be orderly.
Let me call Mercy Ruseno.
Waziri, Okay, Waziri, you can call Masilus, and we don't doubt you, by the way, that you have information. We'd be glad to hear from you. But in the meantime, we're going to cross over to Victoria, who has the opinion pollers on what they have to say about